I know you're listening. You're here because something isn't right. Something feels twisted, upside down. Things don't add up. Hello, human. Welcome to our twisted universe. In this episode, we talk with Marguerite Anderson about the Schumann Resonance, what it is and how it affects us and our planet. Marguerite operates the Facebook page Schumann Resonance Updates with Marguerite. Joining us today is our Twisted Universe host, Christy, and our illustrious co-host, Bob, from the Facebook page Exit the Matrix.
Hi, and welcome to our Twisted Universe. Today, we're going to be talking with Bob from Exit the Matrix Facebook page and Marguerite Anderson. She's with the Schumann Update with Marguerite on Facebook. Hi, guys. Welcome.
How's it going?
How you doing today?
Excellent.
Good.
Great. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
We are so excited to speak with you today. You have a really great page, and I've been following you for a while, and I thought our viewers would really enjoy getting to hear a little bit about what you're doing and what your page is about and the Schumann Resonance.
Well, it's a kind of a hot subject right now because so many of us are empathic and sensitives and having psychic abilities crop up that maybe you never had before. And there's a definite parallel in the way that we're feeling, what we're picking up on, and everything related directly to what's happening on the Schumann resonances. So
how would you, like, I don't think a lot of people, I mean, obviously a lot of people do know about it, but I think there's a great deal of people that don't know what it is. Could you explain to me what it is exactly?
Well, that's a big bite, but I'll give it a shot. The sun is related to what's happening, our atmosphere, and really the Schumann resonance in a nutshell responds to lightning and to different things that occur electrically in our atmosphere. And it goes from the very top, the ionosphere, all the way down to the crust of the earth. And they call it the Schumann wave because it goes like a wave. It bounces from the top to the bottom and travels all the way around the globe. So what happens in one place is eventually going to be affecting the entire globe, but it does go in a wave. So they call it the heartbeat of the earth. And that frequency is 7.83 hertz. That used to be all that showed on the Schumann chart. It was a steady frequency, but now there are multiple steady frequencies besides 7.83, and there's tons of spikes. And when these spikes occur, it affects human beings and it affects animals. If your dog or your cat are going crazy, it may be the Schumann resonance is spiking. And cats especially, cats will take wild cat fits. Animals will not want to eat. And we people, it affects all mammals. We do a similar thing. Traffic is affected by the Schumann resonance because after all, every single bit of us is electrical, all the way down to the atomic level. And when these frequencies are flying through the air and influencing us, it affects us. Plus, I was mentioning earlier to you too, the Schumann resonance frequencies correspond with the human brain waves and the human brain frequencies. So some days people are so sleepy, they can barely stay awake and they don't know what in the world is wrong with them. Well, it may be because the main spiking or energy that's showing on the Schumann will be in the delta range, which is, normally occurring in deep dreamless sleep. I'm looking at my chart. So you feel drowsy. Then theta is also at the first stage of sleep and during meditation, and it makes you drowsy. This is the lower frequencies which are hit a lot on the Schumann resonance. And then it can spike all the way up to high beta and gamma, which is where both sides of the brain are working at the same time in a heightened, super fast motion. And this is where aha moments happen and inventions come to people. And it's an astounding place, but it can make some people feel anxious. But it's called expanded consciousness and insight, is on the gamma frequency. And all this occurs on the Schumann resonance. And you can tell when the Schumann is frequent, when the Schumann frequencies are spiking by traffic, the way people are driving.
What are they doing?
Well, if it's in sort of an intense agitated state on the Schumann, it's hitting those brain waves like, beta, and in high beta, which is hyper alert, or different things it can do. It can make people irritated. People can have headaches. There's a whole list of what they call ascension symptoms. I call them Schumann symptoms. And so even people who are not sensitive experience the effects. They just don't know what's causing it. Your friends are snapping at you and you're snapping back. It may have to do with this very thing. Plus, if the frequencies are really spiking, it's causing your brain and your nervous system to have to adjust to be able to work with it. That can be exhausting. And the easiest pathway for the brain to deal with things when it's being pushed or stressed is anger. So that's something we have to watch for. We have to stay in a zone of love and focus on oneness, because this is where it's going. It's increasing and increasing all the time.
So I thought it was like the electromagnetic pulse of the earth. Is it, from what you were saying, was it mostly the sun, or is it the earth as well?
Oh, well, it's the earth's reaction to that. Everything basically that happens on earth reflects what's happening with the sun. Like right now, we're having a bunch of solar flares. We have had 5 M-class solar flares in the last 3 hours.
What is an M-class?
Normally, solar flares go from A to B, which are very calm, C, which is getting active, M is strong, and X is the highest.
Wow.
In MX, it can knock out the electrical grid. That's how strong. You'll see Aurora Borealis breaking in at the poles. Mm-hmm. It does all kinds of things, and it affects us. And so it's a direct reaction to the sun, and the solar flares are when sunspots on the sun are shooting out energy, plasma, and then detritus from the sun gets involved in it. And the protons or the radiation hits us within 30 minutes. And many people can feel that. It feels like a stinging, tingling on the skin, maybe on your scalp. You don't know where that's coming from. And it can be uncomfortable. And then in about 2 to 3 days, then the actual solar storm from those solar flares will arrive on our atmosphere, if it was a Earth-facing CME, or coronal mass ejection, from the solar flare. And like I said, we just had 5 M-class strong solar flares in 3 hours. So all this affects us. It also will spike Schumann resonance sooner or later.
What time did they start?
Well, let's see. It's 8 now. Hold on a moment. I had just posted it right before I jumped on here to do this with you all. So it stopped. Well, it's within the last 3 hours. So say up to 7 o'clock. 3 hours before that was when all these spikes or solar flares were occurring. And they've been going on for 2 days now, but that's a high concentration and high powered ones too. So all these things affect the Schumann resonance, lightning effects. And then, of course, I didn't know this, but volcanic eruptions are triggered by the sun and by solar storms coming in. And then volcanic eruptions can cause lightning, to happen right above a volcano. Well, that all reflects on the Schumann resonance because all of that energy goes up into the ionosphere. It doesn't disappear, and it begins flowing around in the upper part of our atmosphere like a wave, going back and forth between Earth and the top of the atmosphere. And that's the Schumann resonance.
Marguerite, does
yes,
these plasma discharges and solar flares from the sun, what kind of direct impact can that have on the Earth's climate?
A lot. Weather is directly affected by things happening and coming from the sun. One of the big topics right now that is somewhat alarming to some people, and then other people are like, yay! They really feel that the changes that are occurring are all part of our ascension, all part of us moving into this new era. One of the things that is happening is the magnetosphere or the magnetopause, which is outside our atmosphere in the space part, really where part of it is where satellites are and so forth. It appears to be coming apart. It's also called the shield or the bow shock. It is meant to catch stormy weather and plasma coming from the sun to the day side of the Earth. So the bow shock is only on, or bow shock is only on one side, which is the day side of the Earth. We're watching it appear to fail. It's weakening. There are cracks reported by NASA in the shields. That's why we're seeing so much aurora borealis. We're seeing some spectacular sunrises and sunsets because the atmosphere is being significantly altered. And a lot of people are very concerned. Well, if our shields fail, what's going to happen? Well, we don't really know because we don't have history on that. However, one fun thing, and this is not scientific, this is definitely testimonial, and I've experienced it. You can walk out on a clear day with a blue sky. Don't look directly at the sun. Look into a part of the sky that the sun is not in, and just let yourself stare. And just stare and hold your eyes as still as you can. And eventually, you will begin to see what looks like silver confetti falling and moving, darting around in the sky, as well as streamers of silvery confetti. This is not just me. I heard other people talking about it. I went out and I did it, and I'm like, oh my word, it's happening. And one of the things people say this is the shields and the veil that covers the Earth, that blocks out us being able to see space and being able to see the brown dwarf stars and the other planets out there that we can't see even with the telescope at night. They will become visible as this continues, if it continues as it appears. So the veil is disappearing. And a lot of people think it will be a good thing for the Earth because we need the energies that are out there to help us move forward and ascend into everything. Other people think that without these things in place, that there'll be great devastation in the Earth. It all seems to work together with much of the discussion that's out now having to do with the precession of the equinoxes, which I don't know much about, but I am aware that we are coming into a new era and everything is reflecting that. And talking about pole shifts and the magnetic north moving so much. It recently stopped and went backwards and still is continuing. And then I saw Even CNN just every day accepted news announced that they thought that the core of the Earth had possibly stopped rotating. I mean, this is huge. This is huge exponential stuff, and it's happening in our day and right now.
I actually, I seen that the Earth's core was rotating now opposite of what the Earth's rotating, and I don't know if you've ever followed Graham Hancock at all.
A little.
Yeah, he talks about the Younger Dryas and all that, and I know it's been mentioned before that when cycles like this happen, that there can be a complete pole reversal.
Right.
Interesting, because if you read Revelation in the Bible, it talks about how the sky rolls up like a scroll. That would be like the pole shifting over. And I mean, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying it's interesting, definitely.
Well, it absolutely is. And now that you brought that up, one of the beliefs that I found, I come from a more conventional, traditional background, but being an artist and being given to experiential, mystical relationship with Creator, God, Source, and I try to use the name so that it isn't closing anyone out, I have often been open to looking outside religious boxes because those are man-made. When I came into the Schumann Resonance experience and started meeting and talking with truthers and space type age people and all the different types of people that are involved in these movements, they talked about the ascension. And they talked about, many believe that as these frequencies and energies rise, there'll be timeline shifts, which it does appear we may be having right now. I actually did a live this morning and yesterday, the day before, showing how the magnetosphere exploded during what looks like a timeline shift. But they believe that during these timeline shifts, we'll go into separate timelines, and on one of them, the Earth may be destroyed. And on another one, the Earth may be blasted with the incredible solar event from the sun, which is being predicted. And that means that the people who are following after love and who are wanting to ascend, let their frequency raise, will have to be taken out of the Earth. Well, that sounds like the traditional Christian belief in the rapture. And yet it's coming from many different beliefs and systems throughout the whole world. And truth has a way of doing that. It's everywhere at once under different wrappers and labels. So the key that I focus on my Schumann page is to not encourage fear, because fear doesn't work. Fear takes us where we don't want to go, but to focus on love, to forgive everybody. It's like forgiveness is the gateway into the supernatural, into a place where we ascend. Move beyond the limits of gravity and the rules and regulations of what's considered natural. For instance, I saw a man raised from the dead, up close and personal. I've seen tumors disappear the size of my fist in a matter of moments. I've seen this myself and experienced it. But if you are not walking in a place of forgiveness and trying to the best of your ability and asking for help, you rarely visit those places. So to ascend, to become in alignment with the frequencies of love, moving higher and higher in the frequency, when whatever this cataclysmic thing, it may look cataclysmic, it may look like just a solar blast, that to those who have ascended into higher frequencies will just be like a euphoric moment where they move into what might be called New Earth or the New Era, or they may go up into a vessel. We really don't know what it looks like but these beliefs are kind of global right now, and they go way back in prophecy and history.
That's interesting because what you're talking about sounds very familiar towards the end of Revelation, where it talks about in the twinkling of an eye, everybody will be in their spirit body, like a renewed body. And it also reminds me of what the Hindu Vedas teach. The next Yuga cycle is kind of like the golden age. That the 1,000 years golden age in the Bible is very similar to that Yuga cycle.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely that goes across multiple belief systems, and whether you're looking at it from a religious or a spiritual point of view. Very interesting.
Yeah. When you deal with mystics or people who are into the mysteries, who are more into experiencing spiritual things than believing in a system or rules and regulations or the frame structure, we're all very similar, no matter what religious system we may identify with. Like the Sufis, the Sufis in the Muslim tradition, they are just like the so-called Christian mystics. They have the same experiences. They come into a place of euphoria and ecstasy, and they come in touch with what they call the void, and they go through releasing things and being purified. And this is in all the different religions. These same things are there. And so spirituality is different than getting married to a system. Yeah. And it seems that, and right now people are that we don't trust government as a rule. We don't trust structures. We don't trust religious organizations, organized religion. We don't trust much when it comes to large organization. And this all seems to be a part of our evolving or our ascending, is everyone is coming into a place where they either move forward with what's happening or we don't. And the old saying, some of those might get left behind to get to try this all over again. So to be in a place of love, though, is to be free and free of fear.
Yeah, totally fascinating. I mean, I agree 100% with you. My page, Exit the Matrix. I mean, I name organized religion as one of the, the pillars of the Matrix, of course, government, and there's, definitely, I think the metaverse and all this push to try to get people to eventually upload their consciousness into computer systems and, run by AI. To me, that's almost like trapping your soul or your consciousness even more. It's almost like there's a part of our society, the controllers, world controllers, whatever you want to call them, without going into specifics, but it's almost like they're trying to hold back human consciousness and ascension and trap that consciousness, while the rest of us want to be free of their controls and move on. Yes.
Are you familiar with Greg Braden, the geologist?
No, I haven't heard.
I really enjoy him. He's he's on Gaia a lot. He is on YouTube a lot. He's a geologist, but also a new age type thinker. And I really don't think we can categorize him exactly. But do you know what I'm talking about when I say Greg Braden? Christy, do you know who he is?
I don't know. He sounds fascinating.
Well,
but you're not.
He in the head. Yeah. He in the head of an amazing New Thought campus. I won't name everything, but they talked openly about how a lot of what's happening in our governments and everything are directly related to off-world agendas. For them to say that was astounding, because this is a level-headed guy who is a scientist and highly respected. And why I bring this up is talking about the AI and giving over our humanity to being turned into more machine than human. Greg Braden says the so-called junk DNA that is in us is not junk, that it was disconnected during what's called the fall, or where we forgot who we were, or when something was stolen from us. And as we move forward, we need to explore that and see our true potential instead of giving it away, because he says what is not used will dissipate and disappear. So if the body sees that we're using a machine to do what it's meant to do, we will find our biological genius bodies degrading and giving in, and we never will see our true potential as humans. And that's pretty fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And
you were touching on I love talking to you. I don't know if you follow much of the ancient astronaut stuff. But the Anunnaki, that's one of the things that's talked about, is that they actually genetically shortened our lives, and they also they disconnected basically one of our strands of DNA. Instead of a double helix, we're supposed to have a triple helix DNA structure. And that, if you look at like the Old Testament, Book of Enoch, all those old texts, people lived a lot longer. Even Noah was like 800 and some years old, and then the lifespans of people got shortened, and then it's almost like the intelligence got cut down, the abilities that people had got cut down, and that DNA got there's actually scientific proof that our telomeres were fused together, so there is definite proof that somewhere in the ancient past human beings were genetically modified, and we were limited, and we lost a lot of our abilities that we had.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I learned once again from Greg Braden. He talks about how we were fused in where the chromosomes and the genes, they can actually see where the fusion took place and tell you when it happened, and they can see it clearly. And it's just amazing. It's truly amazing. All of it. It's just so huge. It's so gigantic. And what may have been stolen from us, it's like all of these, like you talk about the Anunnaki and all the different groups, they all acknowledge the main creator, God, who is massive above all. Mm-hmm. And according to what we're hearing, he, or that God, can't say he, she, much bigger than that, but it's hard to say it for me. It seems so impersonal. But Creator God is coming to rescue us finally, and to reincorporate and put us back to where we were truly meant to be before the stealing of our DNA occurred, before we were diminished, where we were more godlike before. And I find it exciting. Yeah. Very exciting.
Well, we were meant to be co-creators with the source, with that creator of all.
Yeah.
And what these other beings did was they basically used our own creative abilities to harness and build what they wanted to build. I mean that's it doesn't matter if you're talking about the archons of the Nag Hammadi, the Gnostic texts, or the fallen angels of the Bible, or the jinn of the Quran, or the gods of the Vedas. I mean, just like you said, it's in all these ancient things, there's the same stories run through them all.
Relation, absolutely.
Exactly. In the fall of man, the limiting of us was one of those major strings that runs through all those stories.
Come back soon for part 2 of Schumann Resonance Updates with Marguerite Anderson. Marguerite is also an accomplished artist. Please check out her studio, Marguerite Anderson Studios. We'll leave you with some examples of her work.